Okay. And I'm not sure who else is watching with us, but maybe Yael. Shalom Aleichem to you and to everybody who joins us every week. Bezrat Hashem, my mother, and Avital, and David, and Shana Batsheva, and everyone. Bezrat Hashem, and Joe in Melbourne. Just so you know, I dropped the microphone. I have a cup of water here. There you go. I don't even know how it happened. Somehow I was holding the microphone before I knew it. It's sitting in the water. So if it stops working, you'll tell me. But I did test it before. It seems like it's working. Pesach is the new Purim. No, there's no such thing as a new Purim. Purim is always Purim. And no holiday can come close to it. And nothing compares to it. Not even Yom Kippur. But Pesach is, can I say these holidays are intense. They come, I would say, every single holiday takes like at least a year to prepare for it. And then when it's over, you need at least 5 more years till the next one comes. I don't think we'd ever be ready for any of the holidays, yet alone Shabbos every week. But Hashem says, I don't care if you're ready or not. Here you go, let's get it done. And that's what we do, whether we're ready or not. The Seder is going to come, whether I was ready or not. I went shopping on Sunday in El Sha'ad. I wanted to go to Yesh Chesed. Couldn't find parking. That's how it works. So this is the last class until after Pesach, because next week I'll either be kashering the kitchen or cooking or something like that. But I won't be sitting here giving this class, that I can tell you. Probably be switching the kitchen over next Tuesday. And then the Tuesday after, of course, is Pesach. And then after that, I believe we'll be starting again. So whenever the first Tuesday comes after Pesach, that's when we're going to start the class again. And of course, we're continuing in Likutey Moharan in lesson Yud Bet. Lesson 12 in the second part of Likutey Moharan. This is the famous lesson Ayeh, which talks about every Yirida is essentially an Aliyah. That every downfall is the beginning of going back up. And if you think about it, if you want to go up, you have to go down in order to go up, right? Even if you're going to put a gun, you're going to put a bullet in a gun, you have to put it in the back in order for it to go out. You want to invest money, you have to put in. It has to, in a sense, go down. Like you release the money in order for it to go up. And everything that we do, whenever we go up, it's always going down. So Rabbi Nachman says, so instead of looking at it as a loss, be happy that you're going down because you know that you're going back up. And what we talked about in the last two classes was that sometimes a person can forget what was the purpose of going down. And they can think, oh no, I'm just going down. I'm never going to go back up. And then they get stuck there. And they start having doubts. Does Hashem really exist? Is all of this stuff that I'm learning, is it real? What is the point of keeping Shabbos and kosher? And why am I living this whole lifestyle? And all these doubts come in. And his lesson, at least until this point in the lesson, is don't forget that in every downfall, Hashem is there. And in this section, what we're going to talk about is how even in the negative spaces, Hashem is found in the negative spaces. So a person, if you remember, the lesson was inspired, really, all of Rabbi Nachman's teachings in a sense, and also the Baal Shem Tov talked about this. They were inspired by Shabtai Tzvi, or reaction to Shabtai Tzvi and Jacob Frank. And the idea behind these two false prophets was to take people into negative spaces and elevate them. That was specifically Jacob Frank. That was his philosophy. And he ended up bringing, it said more than 28,000, I think it was, 26,000 Jews to convert to Christianity, to be baptized. So not just to convert to Christianity, or actually I don't know if you need to be baptized to convert to Christianity. I don't know. I thought it was just a certain sect of Christianity. But whatever it was, they had this idea, in a sense. Let's take myself as an example. Let's say, okay, you look at me, I have a beard, I also have a lot of hair because I'm going to cut my hair next week, B'ezrat Hashem, before Sfirat HaOmer. And I got the kippah and the tzitziot and all of that. And I say, I'm going to walk into a treif restaurant, and by eating the food in this treif restaurant, I'm going to elevate that food because I'm holy. And so my holiness is going to elevate that non-kosher food. This is the thinking that Jacob Frank had. And it was wrong, and it is wrong. And so a person can find themselves, even unintentionally, falling into a pit. And Rabbi Nachman says, when you fall into this place, even before you fall into this place, know that the purpose of every downfall is to go back up. And so don't forget that the reason that you're going down in the first place is not for going down itself, but for going back up. La'achar shebe'er, so this is Bet, section 2. La'achar shebe'er, shegam kshenofel esfekut v'kfirut, hayirida hi letzorach aliyah. After Rabbi Nachman explained that even when we fall to doubts and heresy, the descent is for the purpose of an ascent. Yeve'er atah shehatam, who is going to explain now that the reason for this is shegam b'makom hayirida shesham hasitra achra, that even in the place where we go down to, and there is found the negative energy, melubash sham kavod Hashem bestima v'tzimtzum. Even in the negative place that you fall into, which is surrounded by the negative energy, which is trying to pull you away from your relationship with Hashem, even in that place, Hashem's light is found, but it's found in a hidden and constricted way. V'tzarich levarero v'hala'aloto. And we have to clarify and elevate it. We have to purify it and elevate it. And how do we do that? When we fall down and we get back up. That's the simple way of doing it. A person finds themselves in a place where they feel that they can't get up, but they find the motivation to get back up. That is taking the sparks that are in that low place and elevating them. And when you do reach a higher place, you'll realize that the purpose of going down to that place was in order to go up to that place. Ki da, ki shoesh kol habri'ah wa kavod. You should know that the purpose of all creation, the root of all creation, is kavod. And we talked about kavod. The simple way of translating it, I translated it to Hashem's light. Meaning that, why did Hashem create the world? So that we could discover Hashem's light. So that we would look and find Hashem. and find Hashem in a world where Hashem is hidden all the time. Even when Hashem is revealed, Hashem is hidden. Because even though you might feel Hashem's revelation, you can't point and say, Ze et keliva and vehu, like the Jews did at the crossing of the sea, that they can say, this is our God, and we will worship Him. You can't ever point to God. You can have a strong feeling for God, but you have to have belief in God. And that presence of Hashem is His kavod. That is His light in this world. It's also called the Shechina. And all these terms are interchangeable at some point. Perush, the meaning is, Kol habri'ah nivra'a umitkayemet v'nizonet mikoach kavod Hashem. All of creation is made and exists and is sustained from the power of Hashem's presence, of Hashem's light. Because we know that Hashem is creating the world all the time. Hashem is creating the world all the time. And if Hashem were to stop speaking, then the world would no longer exist. And we know that the world was created with 10 utterances, asara ma'amarot, which we're going to get to in a minute. And so if a person knows that Hashem is speaking and creating the world all the time, then they know that Hashem is found in everything. What does that mean for us on a practical basis? It means that every difficulty and every good thing that you have, and everything between a difficulty and a good thing, when things are just normal and you don't even need to think about it, Hashem is there all of the time. It's simply our awareness of Hashem that's changed. Why did Hashem create the world? He didn't create it for any other reason than for His light to be revealed in this world. Hashem didn't create a world for us to just suffer, even though sometimes it feels like it. Hashem created a world so that we will discover Him again and again and again. And of course, the term Him doesn't mean that Hashem is male or female. It's just the term that we use in general. You could use she, but you can't use they, because Hashem is only one. So Hashem created the world, and we've talked about this as well in many classes, in order for the soul to come down in this world and discover Hashem. Because imagine our souls in the highest of the supernal realms, in dimensions that we can't imagine. We don't have any way of visualizing them. But our soul, we know that the body dies, but the soul lives forever. So the soul is going to leave the body. It's going to go back up to this high place in heaven, which we can't understand in this physical world exactly what that means. And there's no way for it to make any choices, because Hashem's presence is completely there. There's nothing enclothing Hashem's presence, so there's no choice. You just are. You can't choose to do a mitzvah, and you can't choose to love and come close to Hashem, because Hashem's presence is all there is. So Hashem said, so I'm going to create this world, where I'm going to put your soul from the supernal realm into this world, and I'm going to hide my light in this world, but it's going to be there all the time, and I'm going to hope that you're going to figure out through, hopefully, if you learn these lessons in the Likutey Moharan and other ways of learning these things, maybe some people through suffering and some people through joy, that you will find me. Hashem says, you will find me, you will find my light. And that's what it means. Ki kol ma shebara HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo bara ela lichvodo. Everything Hashem created, only Hashem created so that you will discover Him. That's really the meaning of it. Shebnei Adam yakiru et gadluto umitoch kach yavdu et Hashem yitbarach ba'ava. That people should recognize the greatness of Hashem, and as a result of that, will serve Hashem with love. Now, anybody that was saved from any tragedy, or anyone who's experienced a miracle, or anyone actually who can appreciate just Hashem and how Hashem works in nature, this is enough to be aware of Hashem's presence, His greatness, and to serve Him from a place of love. But some people can go through this world thinking that they deserve everything. They deserve to be healthy, and they deserve to be wealthy, and they deserve to have everything that they want. And when somebody says to them, so where's Hashem in your life? And they say, Hashem? I don't need Hashem. I've got my phone, and I've got my friends, and I've got my bank account, and I've got my gym, and I've got everything, but I don't need Hashem. You're forgetting that Hashem is giving you all of those things. So he says, what Hashem really wants is for you to come into this world, to receive all of these things, but to realize that they're coming from Hashem, and as a result of that, to serve Hashem from a place of love, and not have to do it from a place of fear or awe. V'yir'u mimenu sheyeh lehem sachar. Why did Hashem create this world? Because He wants us to get a reward. Not a reward in a way like a star or a prize. Meaning that our soul that's in heaven, which only is exposed to Hashem and can't see anything besides Hashem, wants to earn its keep. In the way that it does that is by being brought down into this world and by having the choice of choosing to see Hashem or choosing to not see Hashem. And that's what it means, v'ye'u mimenu v'yeh, that they should see Him and that they should have a reward, sachar, merit, reward, acknowledgement. K'mo shekatuv, as is written, kol ha-nikra b'shmi v'lichvodi barativ. Everything that's called in my name, or for my honor, or for my glory, or for my light, I created that. V'chule, and so on. Yetzartiv af asitiv. I created it, and I also made it. Me'achar she'akol nivra b'shvin kevodo yitbarach. And so since everything was created for Hashem, but really if we put it in the proper words so we can understand the meaning of it, everything was created in order for you to find Hashem. That's really what it means, because if you read this, Bishvin kvodo yitbarach, you think, boy, Hashem has a big ego. All He wants is for us to give Him honor? No, it's not honor. It's kavod, and kavod is, what is kavod, really? For us, honor is a type of ego, but for Hashem, honor means that you discovered Him, that you found Him, that you turn to Him. And that's really what it means, that when things are good, you say, thank you, Hashem. And when things are bad, you say, help me, Hashem. And that's essentially all Hashem wants us to do. He gives us also, of course, Torah and mitzvot, and gives us a framework. But what is the purpose of creating the world? So that we'll turn to Hashem and say, thank you, Hashem. And we'll turn to Hashem and say, help me, Hashem. And so if you want to look at it on a simplistic level, you could say, well, that's pretty egotistical. But no, you have to look at it from the way that we're able to understand Hashem's perspective, which is that Hashem wants to give you the gift of your soul choosing to connect with Him, especially in a world where He's hidden all the time, and especially in a world where we're challenged all the time. And every time you do that, you are sustaining the purpose of creation by choosing Hashem. Nimtza shekvodo yitbarach u'shorosh kol habriah. And so it follows that the purpose of the root of all of creation is for Hashem's light to be revealed. I'm changing the meaning, but in order to give it the real meaning. And what do I mean the real meaning? Because a lot of times Kabbalah, it's all Kabbalah, but Kabbalah and Chassidus, so Kabbalah is a more contracted form of Chassidus. Chassidus is trying to unpack Kabbalah and make it more accessible. All of these things are trying to describe something that, I forgot the word, ethereal, if that's the word. Something that you can't really grasp. Something that's there, but it's hard to explain, and you can't grasp it, but we know that it's there. And so they're trying to put that into words. And when Rabbi Nachman writes, Kavod Hashem, he's trying to explain the concept that I said to you, that it's your soul looking to find Hashem. V'af pi shekulo echad, and even though Hashem is echad, meaning Hashem is one and everything. Hashem hayah hoveh v'yeh. Hashem was, is, and will be all at the same time. Everything is Hashem. So a person could say, so I'm Hashem? No, you're not Hashem. You're a part of Hashem. But everything is a part of Hashem, and everything is included within Hashem. So it says, even though everything is Hashem, Perush, af al pi shekavod Hashem u'echad, even though Hashem's glory is connected to Hashem. Ki Hashem itbarach echad v'al kochacha shekvodo ugam echad. Well, if Hashem is everything, then also Hashem's light is part of that everything. An kol ze beha-bria yesh chalakim. Nonetheless, even though everything is Hashem, within the everything of Hashem, there are divisions. Now, a simple way to understand that is everything in the physical world is atoms. And if you put even this book and this table, and even my hand, I'm assuming, under some type of super microscope that can see on the atomic level, it will always look the same. You'll just see atoms. On that level, everything is unified. And in a sense, you could pull out and look at the whole planet Earth, and you won't see individuals, and you'll see everything as unified. But within the world, we know that there's divisions, and we know there's divisions within divisions within divisions. And that's how Hashem created the world. Ubechol chelek, v'chelek me'abriya, yesh bo b'pchinat kavod miuchad. And every different section of creation has its own revelation of Hashem's light. When it says kavod miuchad, which means a special honor, I'm explaining as a special revelation of Hashem's light. Shehu shorsho kanal, that is the purpose, the root of all creation as mentioned above. Perush, meaning, Hagam shakadosh baruch hu echad, even though Hashem is all and everything, mikol makom et habriya ubara ba'ofen sheyesh bo chalakim rabim ma'od. Nonetheless, it's true that Hashem is everything, but within that everything, there are many divisions. Here, you can take this book, for example. Look at just these pages. You can see all the words on these pages. And if I were to close the book and just show it to you, you can't see all the divisions within this book. You can't see all the individual pages. You can't see all the words that are written. So a person can say, I just see a book. No, but within the book, there are pages, and within the pages, there are sections, and within the sections, there are footnotes, and there are all these different things. And that's how the world is as well, even though, yes, it is all Hashem. So the world has many different parts, Hashonim zemizeh, that are different from one another. V'zot mipnei shehu bara arba yesodot. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the clock change. It takes me like 6 months to get used to the clock change, and then they change it again. Okay, because Hashem created these four fundamental parts of the world: Eish, Ruach, Mayim, ve'afar. Fire, air, water, and earth. And these elements, so you'll find these elements, of course, in other in philosophies and other ways of understanding people and the body. For example, my wife Noga knows a system by this woman Carol Tuttle. You can look it up. She bases it on dressing your truth, which is how you dressing according to your personality. And she divides the personalities up into water or fire, air, water, and earth. And she numbers them 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then each of those, everybody has, of course, all four of them, but she lines them up with the first two. So I'm fire and water, for example. Fire is the energy that's pushing. Water is the energy that's calming. And so that's a 3-2. My wife is a 4-1. A 4 is, what is the 4? I guess it's earth, and then the 1 is air. And earth is also a grounded personality trait, and it's more intellectual. And the air is light and happy. So what you'll see, for example, in my wife is a very deep intellectual that has a lot of joy. And so she has this whole system, and many times at the Shabbos table, she'll tell me all the guests, and she'll say, this one is a 1-3, that one is a 2-3. And because of this little system, I know a lot about a person. And it's not just coming from this Mormon woman in Utah, Carol Tuttle. It's coming from even Rabbi Nachman in Kabbalah, where they say, these are the four fundamental elements of the world. And from these four things, of course, we get the whole world. ומתוך הכרת יסודות אלו, ברא אין ספור חלקים שונים. And from these four elements, Hashem created an infinite number of different parts. ולכן כבוד Hashem הנראה באדם. And so Hashem's light that appears to a person, הוא אינו כבוד Hashem שנראה מתוך הבהמה או החיה, או החיות, בהמות או חיות. This is not the revelation of Hashem that an animal, I guess a domesticated or a wild animal, sees. ולא מה שנראה מהצומח, and also what vegetation sees, או מהדומם, or the inanimate sees. So you realize that a stone has some perception of Hashem. Alice, type 2. Shalom Aleichem. A stone has a perception of Hashem. We don't have, we can't feel, I guess most people, I'm not capable of feeling the energy of a stone and how it connects to Hashem. We do have in Hayom Yom, the daily teaching of Chabad, where either the Rebbe or the Frierdiker Rebbe says, when Mashiach comes, all of the inanimate objects are going to be able to speak. And if a Jew walked on a stone and wasn't thinking words of Torah or learning words of Torah, the stone is going to say, Bulach. That's what it says there. Bulach, which means, what does it say? Idiot or something like that in Russian. Because why are you stepping on me if you're not learning words of Torah? Meaning that all of creation has its connection to Hashem, and so do we, but all of creation has it different than human beings. V'chein b'chol prat me'elu, and so all of the details from all of these things as well, meaning all the vegetation, all the inanimate objects, and all the animals, they also have different ways of connecting to Hashem. V'yesh ein sfo shinuyim, and there's an infinite number of differences, shekol achad moreh an kavod Hashem ba'ofen acher, that every single one of them points to or shows Hashem's light revealed in this world in a different way. וזה בחינת פירוש המשנה, and this is what it says in Pirkei Avot, in the Mishnah, בעשרה מאמרות נברא העולם. The world was created with 10 utterances. It's the only time I'll use the word utterance, but that's one of these words that you learn when you become a Baal Tshuva. Like Zman Mesugal is an auspicious moment, and other tefillin, phylacteries. Okay, במעשה בראשית כתוב 9 פעמים ויאמר. In the story of creation, it's written 9 times ויאמר, and Hashem said, ותיבה בראשית היא גם נקראת מאמר. And also the word bereshit, Hashem created in the beginning, also means, is also one of the utterances. So that's how we get to the 10. Hare asara ma'amarot, and that's how we have the 10 utterances. Umakshe hamishna madua tzarich asara. And the Mishnah asks the question, why do we need 10? Vehalo b'ma'amar echad yachol lahabriot. Couldn't Hashem have created the world with just one utterance? Which of course he could. V'tirtzeh, and the Gemara answers, or the Mishnah answers, Ela bishvil sachar ve'onesh nivra ba'asara ma'amarot. So that there will be reward and punishment, meaning that there will be free choice in this world. That's why the 10 utterances were done. I'm assuming because if it was one utterance, we wouldn't be able to have free choice in this world, which would defeat the purpose of creation. Ubechol ma'amar u'ma'amar yesh bo bechinat kavod miuchad. And in every one of the utterances that Hashem says and said, there is a different revelation of Hashem's light. Shehu shorsho shel ha'ma'amar, which is at the root of whatever words Hashem is speaking in order to create the world. Ki ha'kavod hu shoresh hakol. Because kavod, honor, glory, Hashem's light, the real meaning, is the source of everything. Shekol ha'briyah, of all the creation, kanal is mentioned above. V'zeh b'chinat keduv, and this is what it's written in Tehillim, u'b'heichalo kulo omer kavod. In Hashem's palace, everybody says kavod. It is all kavod, meaning that when we're in Hashem's palace, we don't have the ability to see anything besides Hashem. So all we're going to see is Hashem's light. Ha'olam shehu kivechol heichal shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu na'aseh kulo b'ma'amaro. The whole world, which in a sense is the palace of Hashem, it was created with Hashem's speaking. שבכל מאמר מלובש בו כבודו יתברך שעל ידי זה נברא העולם. That in every utterance is enclosed Hashem's light, and it's with this light that the world was created. כי מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, because the whole world is filled with Hashem's light or His glory. כדי לבאר, now why did we have to learn this whole section here? Because just take it back to what we're learning here. If every descent is for an order of an ascent, so we have to know that even when we fall down, the falling down, Hashem is there. That was the whole point of what he was saying here. That you should know that everything, Hashem is there. And not to forget it, not to think that, wow, Hashem is here, but Hashem is not there. For example, the Holocaust is always such an extreme example. But you have people that said, God is not in Auschwitz. But you had other people that said, of course God is in Auschwitz. Because how many Jews can you help in Auschwitz? And how many people found miracles in Auschwitz? And I'm not explaining the Holocaust. So I can't explain, well, what about the ones that died? Many more of them died than survived. But the question was Hashem in the Holocaust or not? And of course Hashem was there. But Hashem wasn't there in order to create the suffering for us. I can't explain that. I'm not going to even try. כדי לבאר כי הנפילה והירידה היא תכלית העלייה, in order to clarify or to explain that the going down and the descent is ultimately for an ascent, אבי שכל הנברא לכבודו. He brought before what we just learned, that the whole world was created for Hashem's light to be revealed. And since the whole world is filled with Hashem's light, אם כן, גם במקומות העבודה זרה, והתינופת נמצא לכאורה כבודו. Well, if everything is created by Hashem's light, then even in the places of idol worship and the disgusting dark places, then Hashem's light is also found there. Right? Think of prison or casinos or brothels or drug, or places, whatever it's called, places where people just shoot up all day. We used to have it right here on the street next to where I'm giving the class right now. This street here, Mitzpeh, which goes over this way, was the worst street in Jerusalem. And it was full of drug dealers and druggies, and there were drug homes, and people would literally shoot up and die, and they would leave the needles on the street, and they would pass out on the street. And my older kids, unfortunately, had to see that on the way home from school sometimes. Terrible place, but it's no longer here. The whole thing has been turned around. I have to give my friend Zev Macklin credit for this. He lived a few houses away. And this was he's a really tough guy, Zev. And he decided he's going to sit out on a bench every day on this street and learn Torah. And he's going to purify the street. And he did. Because it wasn't long before the police started arresting the drug dealers and people overdosed on drugs. And there was also a prostitute. There were two prostitutes and their pimp, and they were religious prostitutes, and the pimp was also religious. I would see the prostitutes in shul. This is the craziest thing. And if they didn't know you, they wouldn't let you down the street. They were gone as well, and Zev purified the street through his learning Torah. And he wasn't scared of anyone. Really admire him for that. So he's saying, even in those dark places, Hashem is found. V'lechen shayach gam b'sha'at ha'nefilah b'ruei kvod Hashem. And so, if Hashem's light is found even in the darkest places, then even at the time that a person is falling down, there should be an elevation or clarification, purifying of Hashem's light. Ulam lichora hapasuk uchvodi la'acher lo eten. But at first glance, it would seem that the verse that says, "And my glory I won't give to another," Soter zot, contradicts this. Ki moreh she'en kavod Hashem itpashet lasham, because it means that Hashem's light is not going to go into those dark places. Yiva'er, now he's going to explain, Ki hakavod sham hu hakavod shaba me ma'amar satum. It's true that Hashem's light is there, but it's not coming from the pure, straightforward speaking. It's coming from a hidden speaking, a closed, concealed speaking of Hashem. V'afilu ba'averot ve'udvarim ra'im, and even in transgressions and bad things, evil things, kagon avodah zarah, chas v'shalom, like idol worship, God forbid, shesham ein kavodo yitbarach, b'bchinat hakatuv she'akadosh baruch hu, uchvodo, uchvodi le'acher lo yiten, that there isn't any of Hashem's revealed light, and this is what it said about Hashem, that my light I will not give to another. Meaning that I'm not going to put my light in the strip club or the bar. You're not going to find my light there. V'yesh gvul u'mechitza la'akavod shelo yitpashet lasham. There's a limit and there's a divider in how much of Hashem's light is going to be spread out and revealed, and it's not going to be revealed in those dark places. And even though the whole world is filled with Hashem's light, nonetheless, there's a limit. Hashem's not going to shine His light in these disgusting places, so that a person could say, well, I'm going to go down into this brothel, and there I'm going to find Hashem, or I'm going to take LSD or all kinds of drugs, and there I'm going to find Hashem. Nope, it's true that Hashem's light is there, because it couldn't exist without Hashem's light. But it doesn't mean that you're going to find Hashem's light by going there, because it's through a ma'amar satum, because Hashem's light is being created there through a concealed way, in a way that won't be revealed to you. You'll only be stuck in the darkness. Shelo yetzeh lasham b'bchinat, and we won't come out of this with uchvodi le'acher lo iten kanal. Shelo yetzeh lasham, that a person shouldn't go there thinking that Hashem's light is there, because Hashem won't give His light to another, as mentioned above. V'yesh gvul lekol kavod uchavod, and there's a limit to how much of Hashem's light is revealed. Shemelubash bechol ma'amar u'ma'amar me'asara ma'amarot kanal, that's enclosed in each one of the shalom to Joe, shalom aleichem, that's enclosed in each one of the utterances that Hashem says. Shelo yitpashet lemekomot chitzoniyim kanal, that Hashem's light is not going to be revealed in these dark places, as mentioned above. Hainu, that is to say, shelo yitgale sham kavod Hashem, ki hem hevech kavod Hashem. Hashem's light is not going to be revealed there, because it's the opposite of Hashem's light. Aval be'emet gam sham yesh kavod Hashem b'haster v'helem gadol u'mechuseh kamo she'yive'er. But even in those places, even in the darkest, most disgusting places, Hashem's light is even found there. But you shouldn't be looking for it there. But it is there. Meaning that if you end up there, don't think that there's no way out, because Hashem's light is there. But don't go there looking for Hashem's light, because you won't find it. So if a person falls down, not to think that I've fallen down and I can't get back up. Think that I've fallen down and Hashem took me down. You probably know the story, I've told this before. I guess okay, that's what he wants to say. We don't have much time to finish this section, so we're going to come back to this after Pesach. I'll tell you this story, and I'll tell you the other story that I intended on saying, and that's it. So we get what we get. So the story that Rabbi Noach Weinberg, of blessed memory, would tell, I heard this on one of the Ayeh tapes. This was many years ago when I was listening to actual cassette tapes from Ayeh Torah. I think I listened to all of Rabbi Weinberg's lessons. I listened, I think, to all of the lessons on Ayeh, all the Ayeh tapes. It was literally hundreds of them. And so he said, this guy came to the yeshiva, Eshet Torah, and he said, Rabbi, you want to know why I'm here? So I was driving my motorcycle on, I don't know, California. There's the highway that goes on the cliffs on the ocean. Palisades Highway, I'm just guessing, I have no clue. But that everybody knows that because it's a famous picture. So you can picture the guy's driving on this highway. He said, whatever it was, his motorcycle slipped or a breeze came, maybe, I don't know, Highway 1, I have no idea, and threw him off the cliff in his motorcycle. So here we go. We'll do the motorcycle, and he's riding on the motorcycle. It's going over the cliff. He said the motorcycle dropped. He said a hand came from heaven, picked him up, and put him on the road. He said he literally saw it. So he said, I saw a hand pick me up and put me on the road. He said, Rabbi, that's why I'm here. So the rabbi said to him, and did you ever think, I'm sure that the hand came and put you on the road, but did you ever think who threw you off the road to start with? Who was the one that forced you off the road on the motorcycle? Because we often don't see Hashem's hand in the negative, we only see Hashem's hand in the positive. So that's what Rabbi Nachman is trying to say in the lesson here, that when we're experiencing the negative, to know that Hashem's light is found there as well. What's the story that I want to tell? Tell it briefly. One of my favorite Pesach stories. So it's right after the fall of the Soviet Union. When was that? 1993, I think. I don't remember. I remember I was here in Israel, and I remember I was staying at the Heritage House in the Old City, and the people there were saying, the Soviet Union fell. Can you believe the Soviet Union fell? And so the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of course, who was from Russia and spoke Russian and was always concerned about the Russian Jews, sent shluchim right away after the fall of the Soviet Union to make seders for the Russian Jews. And I'm not sure which town this was. It was some town in vast Russia. And the shliach came, he hired a translator, and they started putting up posters around town. We're having a seder, everyone come, 4 cups, we'll tell stories, we'll have good food, and everyone's welcome. And so many people wanted to come to the Seder that the small hall that they had planned on having the Seder in was too small. And the only place that they could have the Seder was in the communist, whatever it's called, the Communist Party Hall, which apparently was in every city and town in Russia, in the Soviet Union. So they got permission to use the Communist Party Hall because the Communist Party wasn't around anymore, and the Soviets weren't around anymore. And so everybody meets in the hall there, and they have this beautiful Seder. They eat, they drink, they sing, everything that the rabbi said. There was a translator getting up and translating. And after the Seder was almost finished, the rabbi pours a 5th cup of wine, and he says, this cup is for Eliyahu Navi. This is for Elijah the prophet. And why is it for Elijah the prophet? Because Elijah the prophet is going to come and announce the coming of Mashiach. And when Mashiach comes, there's mosquitoes here. When Mashiach comes, he's going to bring the end of time, and we're going to have a miraculous existence that didn't exist before, a revelation of Hashem's light that never existed since the creation of the world. And so he starts pouring the cup for Eliyahu Navi, and then an elderly man, he gets up and he bangs on his glass, and he says, Rabbi, Rabbi, shh, everyone quiet down, shh, quiet, Rabbi, may I say something? The rabbi says, yes, of course, and it's all through the translator, right? And he says, Rabbi, this was a beautiful meal, really delicious food, and delicious wine, and wonderful stories, ancient stories about Jews leaving Egypt, and Jews crossing the sea, and really wonderful, Rabbi. Bravo, bravo. And everybody claps. And he says, but Rabbi, please, don't speak down to us, because we're not children. You really think that some magical Mashiach is going to come riding in on a white donkey and bring in a new era where everybody's going to exist in an awareness of Hashem that never existed before? He said, Rabbi, please, don't insult us. We're intelligent people. So the rabbi said, okay, I'll answer you. He said, for you that seems like something that's inconceivable, right? You can't imagine that Mashiach would come and change the whole world. And the man said, right, exactly. I'm a rational person. That doesn't make any sense. He said, here we are sitting in the Communist Party hall. And if last year I had told you that we were going to have a Seder and we were going to gather as Jews and eat matzah and drink 4 cups of wine and celebrate the Jewish people leaving Egypt and coming into the land of Israel, would you have believed me that we would be doing it in the Communist Party hall? He said, that's exactly how Mashiach is going to come. In a way that you can't conceive right now, but when it happens, you'll understand. And of course, everybody applauded because it made sense to them. And Mashiach is really something that's hard for us to understand. Even the Exodus from Egypt is hard for us to understand. It was from such a long time ago. But you picture the Jews having a Seder in the Communist Party hall, and you can get a little idea of it. So I bless everyone. You have a beautiful Pesach, beautiful Seder, hopefully good family and friend time, and Hashem should bless us that we should all have the money to pay for all of this, and should be joyous and kosher. Be'ezrat Hashem. Let's see this.